This video will serve as your one-stop shop for the exact start to finish listing process that has earned me over 10,000 sales and well over $200,000 in my own print-on-demand business on Etsy. This video is going to be a little bit lengthy because I've included every detail that you need to know A to Z for listing a product that will actually sell on Etsy. So grab a notebook, grab a pen, grab a coffee or a cute little drink to sip on, and let's do this. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to my channel if you're new here. My name is Taylor. Hello. My channel focuses on all things print on demand and passive income. So if those are two things that interest you and you haven't done so already, be sure to boop the subscribe button down below. Getting right to it, the first phase that you should begin with when starting to list a product on Etsy is your research phase. For this research phase, you do need to have already chosen a focus for your shop, whether that is being a more product-specific shop or a more niche-specific shop. I have an entire video about what those two shop types mean, and if you need some help in choosing which type of shop you should be, I will have that video linked up above as well as in the description for you to check out. Now, for explanation purposes throughout this video, I'm going to use the example that I am going to be creating a product-specific shop, and the product that I'm going to be selling is the glass tumbler. Any product type can apply these same steps, same strategy will work for you. During this research phase, there are three things that you need to research. The first being your keywords. Keywords are the words and phrases that you will be using in your titles and your tags of your products. And the goal for these keywords is to be the same words or phrases that your target customer is typing into the search bar. And that, my friend, is search engine optimization, or what you've likely heard before as your SEO. The best way to stand out with your keywords and see your listings perform really well is to target keywords that are high search volume and low competition. And so the next question is, well, how do you find keywords that are high search and low competition? The best way to find these keywords is by using some form of research tool. My favorite tool to use and what I recommend for any new seller or even experienced seller is Everbee. When I first started my print-on-demand shop, I did all of my research directly on Etsy. I didn't have a research tool or anything like that when I first started. I just looked at bestsellers or products that were popular now, looked at their titles, and crafted up my own based off of what information that I was seeing during that research. But with that, it is relatively a guessing game. You don't necessarily have the analytics behind any of the keywords that you are seeing. While that can work to some extent, I found that once I actually started incorporating a research tool, that's where I actually saw the most growth in my print-on-demand business. Actually, it was this time last year in April to May is actually where I doubled my revenue. I went from about $5,000 in revenue in my shop all the way to just shy of $10,000. And really the only thing that I had done differently is I started using a research tool that would help me understand search volume and competition. Because in our example here, I'm starting a shop with the glass tumblers, I want to start my research by looking at what is currently selling really well in that chosen product type on Etsy. I found this listing here and I can already see that it is in 16 carts. That alone is a great form of validation that this is a product type that is in demand. Sometimes you'll also see information on listings about how many have sold in the last 24 hours. That can also be a really great indicator that that is a product that is in demand. Clearly it's selling really well and something that you might want to take some inspiration from. As I mentioned, I didn't start off with a research tool, so I would just start by looking at the title as an example and start to try to pinpoint different keywords that might be relative to the product that I'm selling. So because I'm selling the glass tumbler, something that I would make a note of here are the keywords that I feel are relative to that product type. For example, glass tumbler, iced coffee cup is another great keyword phrase that I would likely write down, glass with lid and straw. And this specific listing is geared towards being a bridesmaid gift. So that's another idea that I could potentially use to target my products towards a specific niche or demographic that is looking for this type of product. Now with Everbee, and where this really helped me see more rapid growth with my keyword research, is I would click onto the Analyze listing, and here I can get a bit more information about how successful this listing truly is. This is a listing that has seen about 220 sales in its lifetime. It's been listed on Etsy for about 8 months, and my favorite part for this keyword research is actually scrolling down here. We can see the different tags that are being used within this listing. If I click the enlarge, what we can do is take a look at those specific keywords, and we're able to see the search volume to competition. As I mentioned earlier, it's really important to try to find those high search and low competition keywords, especially if you are a new shop. But even if you're an existing shop, still finding those keywords that are less saturated, a product type or a niche that's less saturated, you are going to be able to see more momentum, more sales, and watch your shop grow. Of the tags that are being used in this specific listing, the one that jumps out at me is bridesmaid proposal. This has a keyword score of 80, which what that means with Everbee is it is essentially looking at the search volume to the competition for you and giving you an assessment as to the quality of that keyword, and if you were to use it, how likely essentially you would be to actually rank for that keyword. As a new shop, the higher the keyword score, the better. And this has a keyword score of 80, so this is a keyword I'm going to make a note of and potentially is going to influence and help with the rest of my listing process, which you'll see here in a moment. The other two keywords that stand out to me on this list are iced coffee cup and glass cup with lid. I think those are more descriptive of the product type that I will be selling, and they also have a really good keyword score, so those are things that I probably also want to include in my title and tags that I'll be using later on. If you want to try out Everbee, I do have a link in the description. Just by looking at that one listing, I was able to start collecting some keywords that I am going to likely use in the product that I create and list on Etsy. This is a process that I'm going to continue to repeat. I'm going to continue to click into more listings, look at the keywords that they're using, see if I can find some different keywords, and the keywords that I find are actually going to help drive the direction of what I end up creating for my product type. I typically just repeat this process until I have a sticky note full of keywords. That is my super scientific and analytical approach to making sure that I have enough keywords. Generally, I just know if I fill a Post-it note, that is typically enough that I can fill in a title and tags of keywords with. So maybe depending on the size of your handwriting, if you have really big handwriting, maybe you want 2 Post-it notes, or maybe if you have really small handwriting, you don't even necessarily need a whole Post-it note. You just want enough keywords that you have plenty to consider when it comes to your title and tags. Don't overthink it. I promise simple is often better when it comes to your SEO. I also just want to briefly plug, I have a full free mini course about SEO and how it works. It's called SEO Kickstart. It is linked in the description box below. Check that out if you are still having questions or maybe just need a little bit of a deeper dive when it comes to SEO and creating your titles and your tags. The second thing that you need to research is design. Just like you conduct research for the keywords that you should be using, you should also be researching for design inspiration as well. I can only speak for myself, but I'm not a designer, and because I do not have that design background, it's very difficult sometimes to come up with an idea from scratch. I don't necessarily have that brain capacity for what is an aesthetically pleasing design. I don't really know where to begin, and it's often something that really just has left me feeling stuck. But what has really helped me with designing and really just developing my design skill or even my creativity is by researching and looking at other designs, looking on Etsy at current bestsellers and what is working on those products, and also looking at different resources like Pinterest. I cannot emphasize enough that this research is so important. It really starts to just condition your brain to be able to recognize the types of fonts, the colors, graphics, and even layouts to best-selling designs and what makes them so great. Doing this research will help you immensely when you go to create your own designs. This research can really be done in 2 ways. One is formally and another that I consider informally. Formal design research would be sitting down, going onto Etsy, and analyzing current popular products. I consider this more of the formal research because you are making a plan to make time for this research. You're sitting down behind your computer, on your tablet, phone, whatever that looks like, and you are purposefully looking at best-selling designs. The second form of research is the informal design research, which this is honestly my personal favorite, but this would be recognizing designs throughout your day. So for example, I might notice a really cute shirt on a stranger during my day, and I can make a mental note of, hey, I like this shirt, and try to break down why. Maybe I like it because of the colors that were used together or what the shirt says. This is just a form of inspiration, and I find inspiration in this informal way as I'm scrolling on Instagram, TikTok, or as I mentioned earlier, Pinterest. Designing is just one of those skills, though, that I will say in order to truly improve and feel more confident in your design, you have to just do it. You have to just start your first design. It's going to be messy. That is completely okay, but you will learn best by doing, trying different things, and this will also help spark that creativity that we all have within us. It just is sometimes weaker at times. As we get older, we don't necessarily always stimulate that creative part of our mind, but by doing this design research and just diving in, practicing your design, you will improve, I promise you. The third thing to research is pricing. It's important to find comparable products on Etsy and find the average price for them. You don't want to be the most expensive, but you also don't want to be the cheapest. I find that being somewhere in the middle is actually what converts best into sales for my shop. I recommend finding the pricing strategy that 5 of your competitors are using on Etsy. This should include you not only just scrolling through the search results on Etsy and looking at the product type at a glance, but what I want you to do is actually click into the product type, click into the variations, add the product to your cart so that you can see the true price of the product. Many sellers on Etsy will use a strategy of having a loss leader. And having a loss leader is where having one variation of the product priced significantly cheaper than the other variations. What this does is it shows the cheapest price in the search results. So that might be why sometimes when you're scrolling through the search results, you see t-shirts or mugs that are really cheap, really inexpensive. You might see a t-shirt listed for $4. Typically, this is a loss leader, and the t-shirt is not actually that price. By adding the product into your cart, you'll be able to see the true price of the product as well as what they are charging for shipping. And I recommend finding the total price all in for the product. And I recommend repeating that 5 times, finding 5 different shops selling your chosen product type and seeing what their total true cost of the product is. This will help to give you an average of what that product is selling for so that you know what the highest price that others are selling this product for, as well as the lowest price that individuals are selling the product for. And again, I recommend that you try to be somewhere within the middle. We have made it through the research phase. The next phase to listing your product is the design phase. During the research phase, you were looking at different keywords that you might be using in your potential listing, as well as doing that design research. So at this point, you should have a solid foundation of what you might be creating. During the research phase, one of the keywords that really stood out to me was bridesmaid proposal. This was a keyword that had a keyword score of 80. It was pretty high search volume, not necessarily the most competition, and that is what I'm actually going to use as inspiration for my design phase and what I'm actually going to be designing for my product type. This is why I always do my research first and why I recommend you do your research first as well, because really, if we don't have any validation or information about what is selling, what keywords are working, and we just immediately start designing, what we are designing isn't necessarily proven to sell. And if it's something that isn't proven to sell, really we are just guessing, and guessing doesn't often lead to sales. I had 2 different sources of inspiration that I found during my design research. One was just the t-shirt with the retro type font. And then I also found a color palette on Pinterest that I just really liked the colors of, and I wanted to bring that into my design as well. So you can see here me just creating the design. I started off by creating it in Kittle, and then I actually bumped it over to my iPad where I brought it into Procreate. There is where I was able to create the rotating colors with the different letters, which I recently found out that that's actually a feature that is going to be able to be done within Kittle soon. So soon I won't have to actually bring it over to my iPad to do so. But this is the final result for the design that I created. The next phase is your mockups and your listing images. Your images market your product. It's important for your images to be really professional and high quality. Poor quality imaging can make a potential customer think that you have a poor quality product, and it might steer them away from actually making the purchase. My next video is actually going to be a deeper dive on this exact topic in a new series I'm going to be starting called Creating Listings That Convert. The whole first episode to that series will be discussing listing images and how to fully optimize them. So turn on the notification bell, boop the subscribe button so that you do not miss that video next. For my design and for the listing images that I created for it, I just have these 5 images here. I don't like to add a ton of listing images. I really just want to make sure that I have the key details and the important things that a customer needs to know to feel confident in their purchase. Once I have that, I'm pretty content with it. What I've done here is I just have a main mock-up image. I think this displays the design really well. I have a little added features and benefits card. So just mentioning some highlights about the product for the customer, another mock-up image, and the reviews. I think this is a really great type of listing image that you can add into all of your listings, just highlighting kind of the social proof behind your shop and what customers love about the products that they receive from you. And this is another listing image that I do like to add in. It's kind of a call to action, telling the customer, hey, favorite this item if it's something that you like. That way you can save it for later. Any interaction on your listing is really positive interaction. Etsy wants to see people clicking on it, favoriting it, and then of course buying it as well. That would be like the ultimate form of validation for Etsy to push your product more. But if you can encourage things like favorites, then that is a great way to help boost your listings. Now it's time to finalize your listing. I am going to be creating my product in Printify. Printify is my go-to print provider. And if you are just starting out and looking at different print provider options and considering which one that you should go with, I highly recommend using Printify. They are going to be the most cost-effective and be able to provide you with the best margins when it comes to any of the product types that you are considering or choosing. And not only are the prices going to be really competitive for you, but your customer is also going to be receiving a really great high quality product. I've used Printify to fulfill thousands of orders, and of those orders, I've seen less than 2% actually have some type of issue with them, whether it's an issue with the print or maybe the product arrived damaged. All types of different things can happen. Printify is really great when it comes to handling any type of product issue, which does sometimes happen when you do have a physical product business. I am going to start by adding in my design. I can just click Start Designing here and put my design onto my product type. It's important to take the time here to put your graphic exactly where you want it to be placed. I also recommend previewing your product before you actually save it, just to make sure that your design is in the exact place that you want it to be. The next step is we need to just add in all of the information that we've already gathered during our research phase into the details for our product here. I've already done the keyword research, so that is what has helped me craft up my title that I have here. For the product description, I recommend using a description template. I've actually provided you one in the description of this video. Be sure to check that out. You can add in, of course, any additional details that you feel are necessary, but this is kind of just the standard template that I would reuse from product to product and can be used with multiple different product types as well. Scrolling down, I'm going to go ahead and add in my pricing strategy based off of the pricing research that was done during the research phase. The last thing that I'm going to do here in Printify is uncheck the box for mockups at the bottom. As you saw earlier, I made my own mockup images and my own listing images that I'm going to be using in my final listing. Once I've hit publish, this listing is now syncing over to my Etsy shop, where I can then add in my mockup images and finalize the listing there. In Etsy, there really isn't much that I have to do because I've already added in a good portion of the information over on Printify when I was publishing the product. The one thing that I do want to do is add in my own listing images that you saw I had created earlier. So I just went ahead and added those in here. The only other thing that I will do to this listing before saving it is add in my tags. My tags are just an extension of the keywords that I used in my title. So from the keyword research that I did earlier, I generally start for my tags by just copying the title and pasting it into the tags. Sometimes if a keyword phrase is too long, I do have to separate it by a comma. Your tags don't have to necessarily make the most sense grammatically. It's really just kind of adding in some extra words to help the visibility of your listing here. But as I mentioned earlier in this video, I do have my full SEO Kickstart free mini course that dives a lot deeper into the specifics of SEO, what that looks like. So if you're wanting to learn more, definitely be sure to check that out after this video. If you learned one new thing in this video, be sure to like it down below. And if you learned 2 new things and you haven't done so already, be sure to boop the subscribe button. If you would like to work together this year and grow your print-on-demand business, I would love to have you join the POD Connection, which is my mentorship group. It is for all experience levels, and the link to join is always in the description. Let me know in the comments if you have any additional questions about the listing process and any different phase that we discussed in this video today. And as always, I hope you're having a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world, and I will see you in the next one.